How would you say Amsterdam changed over those years?
Well, definitely you see this growing amount of frustration, I think, with foreigners.
It has definitely become more modern in the sense that
Sometimes I watch and I say, where did this come from? So I asked Amsterdammers how Amsterdam has changed over these years. And here are their answers.
How would you say Amsterdam has changed over those years?
Yeah, over the last 10 years, well, I think if you just look at the structure, the buildings and stuff, it doesn't change much because the government made everything a monument, so you cannot really change much. But then, of course, in other regards, like the people that walk around the streets, the shops you will find, it changed a lot over the years, I would say. Especially you see this transition where there are less Dutch people and more expats living in Amsterdam, I think. Because also it becomes less affordable. And I think on average Dutch salaries are not as high as salaries of, for example, rich Chinese people that I know from experience. Because they can sometimes afford to pay 1 year of rent in cash. And it's a bit hard to compete for some of the local Dutch people.
Yeah.
I think that also not for me personally, because I really like foreigners, tourists, and I'm lucky enough to have a place to live. But then for some people, definitely you see this growing amount of frustration, I think, with foreigners. And now in the elections, it's also a big topic. Like many political parties, they try to limit the tax benefits for new expats to make it a little bit more balanced, I think, between the foreigners and the Dutch people. Because now about 1 in 6 people in the Netherlands, they vote for anti-foreigner party. So even though we have this liberal image, there's also a lot of people who are not so welcoming.
This is also a process of all the prices going up because of this internationalization.
I think so. And of course, these parties kind of like to blame a group. So they say like, oh, it's these people is the cause. Well, in my opinion, the problem is the government who didn't anticipate and build enough houses in the first place. So you cannot really blame, I think, expats for that.
So how would you say Amsterdam changed over those years?
It grew and it got busy. It became a big city. It still has own very warm feeling. As I said, everyone is welcome. You always can find a job. But it was a city that was occupied by students and squatters. And now we have a city that have American shops in a main street, companies that never been allowed to be in Amsterdam, and they came because we have many tourists every year. There's more and more events that are very diverse in Amsterdam, such a dance event or the cinema. It's really the festival of the cinema. It's a few times in a year, depends which movies do you like. The same with music, and it just brings so many people that the city is sometimes so packed it's hard to walk on the street.
Okay, as someone who has lived his whole life in Amsterdam, but also went abroad for many years.
yes,
How would you say, in your opinion, did Amsterdam change over those years?
I think Amsterdam, it has definitely become more modern in the sense that the city has expanded a little bit over the years. Like on the outside of the city buildings are more modern. There's more subways now than before. But I think it's also the people. It has attracted more expats than I remember when I was in high school. And I think also IT has become very important. Like before, when internet didn't really exist, it didn't, was not really important. But then the Netherlands became very quickly really important for internet and technology.
You mean in terms of the IT industry,
Yeah.
or how digitalized the country is? Or
The country became digitalized very quickly. It was actually one of the first countries in the world that had more than 90% of the people had internet, something like that, or 95. And that was like one of the fastest countries in the world. And also IT is just very important for us. Internet, that kind of technology. Yeah. And also I feel also luxury is not important in Dutch culture. But I do feel recently it has become more prevalent that you go to a bar And usually it would be like maybe 10 years ago, it would be just everything very simple,
Yeah.
very actually cheap, very simple,
Yeah.
but nice. But now it is more like, oh, they have more leather chairs, or
Hmm.
they have more colored lights.
Hmm. Do you know why this shift could have been become?
I
Do you
I
have an
don't
idea?
I cannot explain why. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
I don't think it is necessary, but actually it is nice. Yeah,
It's nice. Okay.
yeah,
You also kind of like it.
yeah. I do.
Okay.
How did Amsterdam change over those years?
Well, even since I've been here in this neighborhood, and it was very confusing at first because, again, every word was different, every name was different. There was so much download because it's just, you're trying street names and areas and people's names. And so I'd have markers like, oh, I know I'm on the corner of that, or it's one street past that. And then I'd be walking and I wouldn't see my marker because the stores would just, the turnover in the stores, and it's still going on. Sometimes I walk, I said, where did this come from? Like things will just pop up and then they'll disappear. And I do talk to Dutch people, friends and neighbors, and even in the shops. Just the other day I was at Praxis and we got into discussion. He's from Amsterdam and he was talking about how he hates all the changes and how it used to be like this. And I totally get it because I grew up in Las Vegas in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And the city I grew up in is gone. It's literally gone. They have just bulldozed or blown up every hotel. And it's a completely new city with 2 million people. I mean, we get conventions that have 1 million people. So I understand there's too many tourists and the changes. It does feel more crowded, and I have found that there are certain times you can go out where it's better, where it's not quite so crowded. And it's funny because when I first got here, I would go out on like Fridays and Saturdays, and I do have a favorite bar called the Queen's Head. It's a gay bar on the Zydeck, and I used to go over there, and I don't now weekends, no. I will, because it has gotten way, and for me on a cane and not being sturdy, it's just it's too dangerous for me. It's easy for me to fall, and when there's a lot, and they're always on their phones. Nobody ever looks on the street. Nobody ever looks around. They don't look at how beautiful it is. They're on their damn phones all the time. So 4 o'clock is a nice time to go out for a walk. It really is. There's not a lot of people on the street. And when it rains, it's even better. I love the rain. People stay in, but I enjoy it. So
So as someone who moved here 2016, 17, so knows the city from quite a while ago,
Yeah.
how would you say that Amsterdam has changed over the years?
Okay. So I can't really speak as much for the city center as because when I was living here 2016, 17, I was living in Zeeburg, which is more to the east of Amsterdam, and I was studying in East, basically in the Q Factory, which is a very big and famous music center. There's venues there, really cool bar, lots of different music institutes as well, and was most of the time just going back and forth between where I was living and the Q Factory, and just like if I went out for a drink, most of the time around there. But then, yeah, for the city center, I can't speak as much for it because I wasn't really so much here because I was more in the particular area where I was back then. But yeah, what I think, obviously, and because of the pandemic, a lot of places changed, and in general, I think Amsterdam is a place where there's quite a bit of rotation for places to come, and but then a couple of years. Well, rotation basically meaning, in a particular place there might be a coffee place for a couple of years, and then eventually that goes away and someone starts selling pastries then there, And some of these things might have happened obviously because of the pandemic, but I also think just in general, a lot of people maybe try things here because it's possible to try different things here and then go maybe back to another place. But yeah, it has always been very busy, and I think even when you look at the numbers, it just became more busy and more busy. And also in the future, the work they're doing at the Amsterdam Central Station is just trying to bring more capacity even to Amsterdam, more tourists, more Yeah, more people. So I think it always becomes more busy and more busy. Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching till the end of this video. Of course, I will soon upload more topics about life in Amsterdam and about life in different European cities. So stay tuned and subscribe if you want to see more of that. And let me know in the comment section how you perceive the changes over those years in Amsterdam. And I hope to see you in the next video.